The Russians continue to build barrier structures to protect the Kerch bridge. The pseudo-symbol of the Kremlin's military policy could fall at any moment as a result of the operation by the Ukrainian armed forces. However, the Ukrainian naval forces say that the attack on the bridge will no longer have the expected effect.
That's because it is hardly used for military logistics. Less than a quarter of the total load is carried by this bridge. The rest goes through the ferry crossing that was recently hit. Therefore, the bridge is no longer of such tactical strategic importance after the damage it received as a result of the joint operation of the Security Service of Ukraine and the Navy with the drone attack. Dmytro Poetenchuk, speaker of the Ukrainian Navy, in an interview with RBC Ukraine.
A significant part of Russia's military equipment today is transported from Russia's Rostov along the railway on the south of the occupied territory of Ukraine. The speaker of Ukrainian Navy specified that this territory is the Ukrainian Armed Forces strike zone. However, according to the Institute of the Study of War, some deliveries still take place across the Kerch bridge and weapons are transported by lorries.
As far as we have information, closed lorries were transporting weapons to the territory of Crimea anyway. Now they have nowhere to go because of strikes on ferries that were carrying both military equipment and fuel, so they still need to provide Crimea with fuel to supply the Russian army and to supply Crimea.
Attached, the guerrilla movement in Crimea recorded the transfer of fuel across the Kerch bridge. This was confirmed by images from June 8th. Thus, the bridge is being used as a logistical artery to supply the Russian army.
It is unclear whether Russian authorities will continue to use the Kerch Strait railway bridge for fuel and logistics transport to occupied Crimea in the near to medium term. Doing so would likely alleviate some logistics constraints as Russia struggles to compensate for lost ferries across the strait, but would leave the Kerch Strait bridge increasingly vulnerable to Ukrainian strikes, particularly if Russian air defense coverage of Crimea is degraded, as Atesh reported. From a report by the Institute for the Study of War.
The Ukrainian defense forces are systematically destroying military facilities in Russian-occupied Crimea. The Ukrainian armed forces are striking command centers, airfields, the Russian Black Sea Fleet, the Kerch bridge, the ferry crossing and air defense facilities. To preserve what is left, the Russians have deployed the S-500 system in the occupied Crimea. Experts assure this is just a military test of an experimental model.
They can claim anything they want, but they stop the production at any point. This is Russia. After all, the situation is that there are only 330 S-300s, 6 S-350s and 248 S-400s in the Russian air defense combat units. This data is given by open foreign directories. For example, the Military Balance 2024. Such reference books can be trusted, but the units formed for the S-500 complex are not listed there. Valery Romanenko, leading research at the National Aviation University, in an interview with Krem Reali.
Over the past 2 months, the Ukrainian defense forces have hit about 15 air defense systems, in particular air defense division in the S-300, S-350 and S-400 modifications in the Russian-occupied Crimea, the Ukrainian armed forces has reported. The deliveries of U.S. missiles have allowed Ukraine to step up attacks on military targets, the Atlantic Council wrote. The weakening of Russia's military position in occupied Crimea is a blow to the Kremlin's prestige and will have serious consequences, analysts believe. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Victoria Smirnova, UATV News.